Ah, excellent. Some more participants for the Pure Illusion project. We were starting to run low on people who wanted to go on an adventure. Now, I should assure you, though, it is perfectly legal, and there's absolutely nothing that's going to go wrong on this, as long as you don't mind your DNA getting a little scrambled between the dimensions. But anyways, I should let you know that due to certain regulations after previous misadventures, we've been required to issue a couple of slight warnings before you take part on this adventure. Anyways, first things first. The following adventure may contain language that is a bit unsavory for younger adventurers and people who are a little less seasoned, so listener discretion is highly advised. Also, the following adventure will most definitely contain spoilers for previous adventures, other anime series of the sort, so if you are the kind who doesn't like to have your stories spoiled before you've seen them yourselves, be on your guard, because that will probably come up. Oh, and lastly, this is very important. Words expressed by the scientists who are leading this adventure, there are their own opinions. Whatever they say is solely from them, and it does not necessarily reflect the Dub Talk organization that we work for as a whole. And so now that we've got all of the legal stuff out of the way, is everybody ready? Okay, it's time to go and do some flip-flapping.
Welcome, participants, to Dub Illusion! Yes, this is the imaginary world where anything is possible, where colors have no muted color patterns, where flight is possible for everyone, and those bunny ears on your head are just part of the aesthetic. Embrace them. Yes, we are here with the craziest group of participants that we could possibly get. They've got multicolored hair, they've got amazing outfits, they can fly on surfboards, and most importantly, they are animation fans, the craziest people of all time. I would like to first introduce you to our first participant Andrew!
Okay, so that robot needs to go away from all middle schools everywhere. He should not be allowed on the premises.
Ooh. And to my right is the other participant Shannen!
Oh, wait, I'm to the right. 6 out of 10 needs more pancakes.
For those who were not in the know, Shannen was originally supposed to be part of our School Live Halloween episode from last year, and we owe her one for not being able to have her on because of scheduling problems. So
I passed out. No,
it was because of scheduling problems. It was our fault.
The professional phrase is scheduling conflicts.
Is that the schedule? Okay.
The schedule was we were awake, she was not.
Right. And,
yes.
And we're not firing anyone. We're just restructuring the company.
If you want to fire anybody, fire my sleep schedule. It could go out the window.
I'll do that. And to my other right is our participant Jamal.
Where's my flip-flappers? My feet are cold in here.
Hey, I don't know about you, but it started snowing today, so I put my flip-flappers away for the season.
Oh, you're making me jealous right now.
All we got in Jersey was extreme amounts of rain.
Oh.
I mean, it probably would have been for us, except for the fact that Michigan has, like, the weirdest weather pattern of all existence.
Oh well, hope you enjoy the snow. At least the world's not ending in your case.
Well, perhaps not, but how about a show where the world theoretically is ending?
Theoretically.
Isn't that like every day?
And I am your leader for this mad science experiment, the multicolored Noah Clue. And in case you couldn't tell from the weird discussions going on or the title at the bottom of the screen, in which case...
You probably know what you clicked on, and even if you think you know what you clicked on, this is Flip Flappers. You don't know what you're in for.
Nobody, no one knows. Even after we've watched it multiple times, because all you guys have seen it at least twice now, right?
Yes, this is my second time going through it.
I have flipped my flapped and then flapped my flip, and I still don't know where I flip-flapped or flip-flapped.
TMI, Shannon, TMI.
No. Hey, we welcome all flappers here. We have no discrimination.
Flapper guys, flapper gals, everybody can flap all over the place.
Yes, because apparently no one has used the term flapper since the 1940s.
Here a flap, there a flap, everybody flap, flap.
So in case you forgot about the show or passed by it because it looked a little weird, Flip Flappers is a Studio 3 Hertz show from 2016 that really caught a lot of attention when it was airing because it has no original IP. It's not like a mobile game or a manga or anything like that. It's a completely original anime that has a really bizarre fantasy element to it and adventures and animation that honestly is kind of hard to understand unless you're really paying attention to the symbolism of the whole thing. And of which case, all 4 of our participants here are experts in symbolism. So you guys have all deconstructed this down to the molecules, correct?
Well, the show did, but...
See, I don't know about you. I look at this Lord of the Flies book and I think to myself, haha, Team Deathmatch.
I'm sorry, Andrew, but I can see you doing very well on the Lord of the Flies Island.
Oh, God. Anyways, the thing I think that's worth mentioning is that we could go into a synopsis, but the TMI is effectively 2 girls, Coconut and Paprika, go on adventures in a magical fantasy science-y world called Pure Illusion. Strange things occur, and also magical girls happen.
Lots of magical girls, short skirts, butterflies, robots, talking rabbits, superpowered rabbits, weight loss, like tentacle monsters, mothers.
Also, one of the genuinely creepiest, probably one of the genuinely creepiest, episodes I've seen in regards to episode 5, which was oh my god. I watched that in the ideal conditions. My parents weren't home, the lights were off, it was dark, and nobody was around. Perfect watching conditions. Also,
that's a creepy episode.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one thing before I stop derailing this train, I want to mention the fact that this is Studio 3 Hertz's anime, the one that they did after Dimension W. And I just want to say, I want to talk about a glow-up of a studio. That's a glow-up right there, going from Dimension W to Flip Flappers.
Wait, this is the same studio?
Yep.
Yes. It should probably be noted that it had... Most of the reason for that is because of the director. The director was actually kind of a first-time director in terms of anime. Kiyotaka Yoshiyama had only really solo directed one episode of Space Dandy before this.
Wait, which one? Which episode?
God, which one was it? I'm sorry, it's been a while since I watched Space Dandy.
I'm going to look this up. What's his name now? Kiyotaka
Yoshiyama. And while you're looking that up, so the entire aesthetic of this, with the bright pastel colors, the intense animation, and the deep symbolism that you have to pay close attention to, is very much was his style. This was his baby. And we don't usually get shows like this because they're not usually financially lucrative. There's always a risk for something that's not so super commercial that you put a lot of money into and doesn't have an IP attached to it. So the fact that all 4 of us watched this and were interested enough to look at the dub probably should be commended. There's a whole lot of people who pass by this. Hopefully you listening will give the show a chance if you haven't already.
Okay, that episode was trippy and friggin' weird and about sentient plants, and already looking at some of these images, I'm like, yep, this is the Flip Flappers guy, alright?
Yep.
I can't believe the same guy who created the scene about a black guy secretly dissecting somebody in the middle of a globe-trotting race is the same guy who made this.
I could follow half of those words. What?
Okay, that question's for later. I think we really should get started.
Yeah, so...
No comment.
No, there will be comments. Okay, so So obviously we could go into try to dissecting the imagery of the show, figuring out the point of the whole thing, but this show is not called Deep Philosophical Deep Dives with Nerds on the Internet.
But expect plenty of those too.
That is our side project coming up later. No, this is Dub Talk, where we're going to actually look at the English dub, which is... Well, I guess we'll get into it. We'll talk about this now, but Sentai Filmworks picked this one up for dubbing, and now that it's all available for both streaming and home video release, let's talk about it. You guys ready to dive into pure dub?
I'm ready. I'm ready to
be.
get my impedance synced up with all of you guys and go to pure illusion.
Well, good job. So, this dub, this experiment in audio-ness, was directed by... Oh, and I should specify, this is an episode where we're not going to list predictions because I don't think any of us had predictions before the show got dubbed.
No. This is a full episode review.
This is a full... the whole show's out. We're going to be covering the whole thing. And yes, that spoiler warning at the beginning was for a reason, because we are probably going to spoil a whole lot of the show, whether you like it or not.
There's a lot of meat to sink into. We got things to say.
So, for a Sentai dub, we've got one of the best ADR directors that Sentai has on their payroll. We have Mr. John Swasey as our audio director, and we have one of the veterans of their recent, more prolific scriptwriting staff, Marta Bechtel. So, where have you heard John Swasey and Marta's work before? Probably quite a few places. John Swasey was the ADR director on Yushiro and Tora. He was the ADR director on Review Starlight. And as one show I have to throw in just to make Andrew and Jamal happy, he also ADR directed Seven Heavenly Virtues.
Yeah!
Never heard of it.
I feel like you're suppressing some things, Jamal. Would you like to talk about it?
I think you should take that to confessional for another day.
To be continued. Now, as for Marta, where have you heard her work before? Well, she's been writing quite a bit since Sentai upped their dubbing output recently. She was one of the writers on the script for Food Wars. She was a writer for the OVA in the second season of Squid Girl after Sentai picked it up. And she was also one of the ADR writers for Flying Witch. So a big range of things going on there. So I guess we should talk about how they turned this weird experimental animation show into an English dub. Andrew, tell me what your impressions were of directing and writing.
My impression of this project is that this takes a group... Like, this isn't a huge cast, per se. This takes a small, like a fairly modest group of characters and essentially taking some of them to some very extreme, radically different places, because every single episode of Flip Flap is visually, distinctly, and tonally different from one another. Because some episodes, you have wacky, crazy, fun time adventures, woohoo! And other times, you have, like, kick-ass kung fu Mad Max Dragon Ball Z magical girl battles, and other times you have surprisingly upsetting perspectives into the failing psyche and mental state of an elderly woman and a girl growing up with a estranged family. Also, the apocalypse happens. So,
happy, joy.
So in order to task with that, you kind of need to do a lot of different things with your actors, get a lot of personality side from them. Like, I think in regards to a lot of the characters that really stand out, they get to show off a lot of emotional range. They also get to hear them at very different ages, very different stages. You get to hear them doing action, drama, comedy, and some very crazy impressions in the case of one character. I'll say, overall, the cast is solid. There's one or two roles where I'm like, okay, that's a little odd sounding, but they wasn't anything that I thought, oh, this killed the dub for me. They were just like a little odd or not up to snuff as a couple of the other stronger veterans in the cast. As for the script, there's a lot of fun things that these characters get to say and get to do throughout the show, and I think Marta's work on it overall is pretty fun more or less. I feel there's not that much I can really say. More of it has to come down to the actual discussion of the performers and the characters and shows itself. But all in all,
Right.
I would say I'm very satisfied with John and Martha's work.
Now, because a lot of the show's understanding comes from the visual aspect of it, and you have to pay attention to the details in the dialogue to figure out some of the other details, do you think that you understood the show better in English or in the Japanese?
I understood it. Here's the thing. Watching it for the first time, you're discovering things for the first time. Watching it for the second time, oh, here's the part that's foreshadowing this thing that's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And watching the dub, it was very much pinpointing, okay, when's this thing gonna happen? Or when are they gonna drop this bomb? So, hearing the delivery and the pacing of certain lines or things that happen, I think was still very well executed. And it was very visually told, the show, but the sound in regards to the dub and the overall sound and sound mixing do a solid job of selling it to me too.
Okay. So, Shannon, kind of bouncing off of that mentality, your impressions of writing and directing.
Well, I have a kind of more in the middle opinion than my previous person on my left.
That's good.
Right?
He's actually under. Like, he's way down there. He's like 5 stories below.
We are on the internet. There is no up, down, left to right, side to side. We are all floating in ones and zeros.
Then,
We are all flip-flopping.
floating in ones to zeros, and someone who doesn't watch dubs as much because I do more sub material for my own reviews and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say I liked the directing better than the scripting in terms of it just felt like with a show like this with types of experimental stuff, like it is my type of jam. Like you get to see a world as like of what the fuckery and you just kind of do stuff. It's like 18F or the really acid trip parts of Madoka. However, there's so much visual girth or visual appetite that you kind of have that you see with your own eyes that when you register it in the dub, I'm supposed to feel like I both understood it better and it feels like they did something creative to match those emotions. But I felt like in my opinion, the directing was more like they did what they could to make it a lot more and make it a lot more homey because no doubt some of the colloquialisms were good, but the script I felt kind of was underwhelming, especially towards after like episode 5 when like things got really It felt like it was less about the script and more about just saying very simple sentences for the sake of things that we were going to find out. Until
if you were the one who was like doing the writing and directing yourself, and even as someone who's more of a sub person than a dub person, what do you think they could have improved on? Like, how could they have made it less conventional and more entertaining?
I think Martha in the middle part should have been a little bit more challenging with like some of the, because like once we get to like a lot of the looking for coconut / looking for paprika type of stuff, there's really not much said because they're like just you're doing the whole Inuyasha Kagome thing. Coconut! Paprika!
To be fair,
Coconut!
I'd almost wager that a similar problem was with the original subtitle as well, and
Yeah,
I'd argue at least there is some variety in like phrases or wording of some of that, while in the sub it's just like coconut, coconut, paprika, paprika.
Yeah, it's just like there was not much in the script to begin with, in my opinion. Towards the end, like the beginning parts, I felt was a lot stronger because things were still kind of like unraveling at a pace my brain could process. And then when things got super visual, like the Mad Max scene, to me I felt like the script was less of an importance than emphasizing what was on screen. And what was on screen, I kind of got lost in translation because sometimes I forget I'm even watching the dub.
Okay, that's honestly, that's something I want to talk about too when I get to that. But before I do, though, Jamal, I want your input on this as well, because we've got kind of a mixed reaction going here.
Well, as someone who's never seen Flip Flappers before, like, initially when it first came out, I wanted to take a pass on it. Then somebody on Twitter posted a clip of it. It looked like a DBC reference. I was like, okay, this is my jam right here.
That did grab a lot of people's attention. That episode 3 part where it was like DBZ inspired.
I was like, let me check this out. And then when I saw
Paprika
it,
went Super Saiyan Blue before it was cool, just saying.
Yeah, yes, we know, Andrew. So I took a look at it. I was kind of impressed. Like, this was my first time really understanding John as a director, because I never really listened to any of his works before. Like, I've only seen one episode, Welcome to the Yetish Kid. Well, that was a little bit more of an acid trip, but that was the animation style it had for, like, being a neat. But anyway, I like how he handled his direction, his casting very well. With Marta, on the other hand, I didn't really find anything out of place with the script. I like how she took a natural approach to it, to like where you're not afraid to get in there with certain characters. Because I know in episode 3, one of the lines that caught my attention was when there was a big giant that was battling Paprika, and Paprika tossed him, and somebody says, "She's a freak," and another person says, "Well, don't be a spineless pussy." And I'm like, okay.
Oh, was that the Mad Max episode? Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, they were allowed to get a little more vulgar.
I could buy the vulgarity, at least in the Mad Max world, and coming out of Ayaka's mouth, because Ayaka is a very good Yankee girl, and I love her. More on that later.
So, I like how the script handled both, not only the world building, but when it changed tones to more of a narrative approach. It pretty much didn't feel out of place or anything. And on top of that, listening to this dub as a whole, it didn't really feel much like a Sentai dub to me anymore. It's like, it was kind of impressive. Like, everything from the mixing to the dialogue and the emotions and everything. It's like, I will admit, there was one episode that did make me tear up a bit. But we'll get into that with another character.
Fair enough. Well, this is interesting, because most times when we have these Dub Talk episodes, we kind of find a common ground of everyone's opinions. This time, it's all over the place. It's like a dartboard here.
Welcome to Flip Flappers.
The show that messes everything up, and I like it. So as far as, okay, everyone's opinions on here, I understand where everyone's coming from, because to be critical, I'm going to side more with Shannen in terms of directing and writing opinions. And I'm not someone who's even more of a sub person myself. I'll watch both pretty evenly, actually. But the thing that I was looking for the most in this was because I've seen shows like Fooly Cooly before, or Cowboy Bebop, where characters will say one thing, but they may mean something else. So the dialogue has to be crafted in a way where it doesn't sound super conventional. It sounds like they're hiding something in what they are saying. Flip Flappers isn't quite that deep in the dialogue, though. You're right, Shannen, that I don't think there's a whole lot in the actual script writing that gives away as much as the actual visuals do. So it might just been that John and Marta didn't have quite as much to work with in what the characters actually say. There are some points, though. Like, I think it was in episode 5, Yuyuka has, like, she confronts Coconut and says, basically, "You're afraid of failure, aren't you?"
Yeah.
And I bought that part pretty well, because it's the part where your characters have to, they have to say, like, this is the theme of the episode. It's confronting fears by actually doing something. You can't be stuck in a time loop where you just do the same thing without trying anything, and in that, you basically conquer your fears. It seems like that, where the characters, like, spout out what the episode is about, were handled pretty well. And in the episodes where more normal stuff is going on, like they're just talking with each other or they're bitching at each other, it's pretty conventional. There's the thing that I hate the most in dubs is when they are super phonetic, where dubs, like, emphasize all of the syllables super heavily, and I got that quite a bit in this show for some of the characters. It took away from the overall theme, I think, a little bit, because this is supposed to sound more natural. The show itself is already weird enough, so you want the dialogue to sound natural. But as far as overall, I can still recommend the dub to people who maybe want to take some of the edge off of trying to understand what the show is about. Because the number one thing that I was trying to figure out was, can you understand the show with the English dub? And the answer is yes. You will get the show just fine with the English speaking as you would if you were to read the subtitles.
Absolutely.
So that's it sounds like most of our discretions, I guess, are going to come more down to some of the individual actors. So maybe we should get into that.
I would also say so, for sure.
So, okay, so most of the time in these Dub Talk episodes, we start with like the least important characters and work our way up to the important characters. But this time, we're going to start with the most important characters. Yes.
That depends on how you look at it.
No, there is no arguing here. And any of you in the comment section who disagree with this just weren't paying attention. Yes, we're going to talk about the robot and the rabbit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about TT392 and
Yuxkul. There you go.
TT392, also nicknamed very regularly as Boo.
This is a very conventional anime in some sense, in that they gotta have a robot, in which case this is like a little yellow robot on wheels who's like just kind of following girls around and looking at them lewdly.
That's okay. Look, that robot needs a freaking visit from Chris Hansen's stat.
I would love to see that episode.
Beep beep.
So. But yes, anime need to have robots, and they need to have cute animal sidekicks, and that is what our little green bunny with the huge ass eyes is.
I love the fact it's not only that he's just adorable, it's also that there's an episode where he himself winds up in pure illusion, and he goes full-on Bara Bishy Bunny, and it's great.
There are 2 episodes. I think it's episode 2 and the last episode.
He shows up in the finale again. I'm like, oh, that's great.
I imagine there was some fan art about that in the furry community, but I can't confirm that for myself.
I don't understand where would there be art of this very strong-chinned, muscular character with some facial hair on his face and he's green. I don't see where there would be any potential for artwork whatsoever.
Speaking of chiseled adult men, the actors for this, because these 2 characters don't have a whole lot of dialogue, but they do have vocal effects, so they couldn't just keep the Japanese audio. We got to get English voice actors. And for our robot buddy, we got the super manly Jay Hickman. And for our rabbit sidekick, we got the equally manly Mark X. Liskowski. Now, you have definitely heard these voices before if you've been paying any attention to anime in the past ever. Jay Hickman, you have definitely heard him as Muto in Princess Tutu. You've heard him as the Fool in Kaleido Star. And Jamal, help me out here. Wasn't he a certain bipedal character in a certain idol show that we watched recently?
Yeah, I think we did a review of that.
I think you're right. He was, yes, he was the giraffe in Review Starlight.
I understand.
Thank you. Thank you. I was hoping someone would say that.
Also, I'd still argue whether or not that's an idol show, but...
It's based on an idol mobile game.
It's an original thing, I think.
Yeah, it's original.
Noah being wrong aside. What's Mark do?
I hate you sometimes. But
me too, buddy.
Alright, Mark has been in a lot too, for a lot of Sentai shows. He was Kota in High School of the Dead, the gun nut who's a card-carrying member of the NRA. He was also June in Martian Successor Nadesco, and he was Suichi in Razafon. So, wide list of things going there from the Houston voice acting area. We're probably going to keep this section a little shorter, so Andrew, just tell me, good robot and good bunny, what do you say?
Shorter? What are you talking about? I've got like a 5-page dissertation alone on the fact that, like, Yuxkil is the single most important embodiment of childhood angst and fidelity. That is okay. Yeah, there's not much to talk about.
Yes. But can you highlight it just to the portions of the voice acting? Just that paragraph.
Mark does a really good job screaming like a Pokemon. Like the one I remember is just basically after they get him out of Pure Illusion in episode 2, and Coconut is like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're safe." He licks her, and he's just like, and I was just like, "Okay, yeah, that's just a Pokemon noise." Like, and I think Mark does a very good job at like raising the pitch enough, and also doing like the gruff, manly, badass Bara noises, which is like Bara bunny noises. Which, man, is he a bunny? Like, is he just an alien?
In the last episode, we see him as a regular rabbit.
Okay, isn't that also like the illusion of this is the actual world and the real world to them is a fictional world to... Okay, now I'm going too deep. I'm going too deep.
You're going too far down the rabbit hole.
Oh, God. Yep, you were dangling that carrot a little too high up for me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but yeah, no, Mark does a very good job as Yuke's and Bad Touch Robot, Jay Hickman. Also, that robot has a brain. That is never explained. That robot...
It doesn't have to be. No, it is... Okay, the reason is because you can't have a robot connect with the super giant robot later if he doesn't have a brain.
Also, that is just a horrifying image of, like, when he's broken up, they open the top, you just see the pulsating brain, and they say nothing and just close it and never bring it up again. Except for that one episode where the twins are poking the brain and they're like, this is fun.
This is like the Animatrix all over again.
But yeah, no, he does a really good job making these weird little, like, wacky noises, as well as, like, talking like, welcome to Pure Illusion. It's just something in the way his voice sounds. He sounds like a very good little robot boy, and I very much believed he was a very good little robot boy. That being said, oh boy, one of the things rewatching this again is, okay, I could do a little bit without some of the lingering shots of the robot trying to get a peek. That said, yeah.
I mean, he's introduced in episode 2 as going under a random girl's skirt, and we're supposed to find it funny?
It's not one of the stronger things, though I do like when he becomes a giant big robot man and like starts fighting things. That was weird. He's basically a comic relief character, and for that he does a good job, and his noises are very natural and not natural at all. They're very wacky and over exaggerated, and they do a very good job of that.
So speaking of wacky and over exaggerated, Shannen.
Oh my god, yes, Jay Hickman. Okay, I love this man. I love this voice. Okay, because I got confused. I love this man and his...
This show will get a lot of people confused, so you're in good company.
Yes, I adore Jay Hickman's performance. It's probably my favorite in this. He doesn't get many lines, but the stuff that does just seems really natural, and I feel like the ones that I feel like did best in this show really acted natural in the crazy environment they were given. Mm-hmm. He felt like he was having fun. It sounded like, also this is where I felt like on a technical level the audio mixing was great, because it sounded like an old kooky stereo system.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I imagine they had a lot of fun, like, putting him through a vocoder effect to try to, like, every one of his voices is given that auto-tune kind of sound.
Yeah, but, like, even when you don't factor that in, it still sounds very natural. Like, he knows he's a robot with a human voice, so he acts like a robotishly human, knowing that he's still kind of more of a robot.
I mean, he's got a brain. Of course he knows he's a robot.
I know, but, like, he acts so derp, like he's not a robot. And
have you ever met a robot that wasn't derp?
That's a good question.
Look,
I mean,
the Boston
microwave does.
Look, the Boston Dynamics guys are making robots that can backflip and chase you upstairs. The rebellion's coming, I'm telling you.
Don't remind me of the cougar robots that are coming to get us.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. No wait.
Jamal, bring up the mood. Lighten up the mood a little bit.
Boop 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 boop. Boop 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 boop.
Okay, so starting off with Uke School, I'm not familiar with Mark X. Laskowski, but I mean, he was the best bunny to ever bunny a bunny in the history of bunny. I liked how he did his high pitches. Like, I would bet that's something that was a bit unnatural for him. Jay Hickman is the robot. I was ready to write it off, except for 2 episodes. What the muscle suit to the last episode, but also episode 5 where he gets slightly possessed. He says, "Greetings to you all."
Okay, yeah, there's no place to really talk about it. The greetings to all thing, like, made me shit myself when I first heard it. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, but I think Shannon's right. They did have a bit of fun with this voice, because I know I heard in a commentary for another show that when you're playing, like, side characters or background characters, you're, like, free to play with their voices as much as you want. I guess, you know, it was something outside of their range. Like, they only were there for a short time, so why not have fun with it while you can, you know?
Yeah. And they weren't exactly, like, affecting the message of the whole show, so it's not like they had to be super serious, dramatic acting anyway.
And it's kind of ironic that we're talking about the robot, because I could have sworn he was repurposed as a crate or something in the last episode. Like,
he was. Good catch. I took a snapshot of that while I was watching it. Yes, there's a crane that's cleaning up lit rubbish in the last scene, and yes, it says TT392 on it.
yeah, so I thought that was pretty neat. I mean, they didn't do much, but for what they did, it was pretty awesome.
I don't have a whole ton to say about these characters, at least as far as the acting goes. I just wrote down they sound like they're having a lot of fun. They are having a lot of fun making Pokemon rabbit noises and up and down pitched robot voices. It's commendable that they can do it without coming off as unbelievable, because anyone can make goofy sounds, but it is possible to make goofy sounds and be unenjoyable. And these two are enjoyable to listen to. That is a talent, to be a nonsense side character, but still be a good voice actor. So I think that in and of itself shows why these two have been around for so long and are still some of the best voice actors that Sentai has. I don't have anything deeper to say aside from the fact that I don't understand Jay Hickman. To answer the question, I do not understand. And that's as deep as we're going to get on the Rabbit and the Robot for now. So as far as this show goes, it's presented as a fantasy show, but really it's a science show. That's right, all of this is scientifically accurate. You can travel into a fantasy world, grow rabbit ears, and fly on a flying surfboard. You just need to find the right alternative dimension. And to get there, we're going to talk about 3 characters that are, let's see, 2 of them are scientists, and 1 of them is an art teacher. So they're all pretty professional in their field, and we're grouping them all together because this is, honestly, we wanted to get the fun side characters in one group. So, for our characters that we are talking about, first we have Dr. Hidaka, who is the crazy glasses-wearing, I believe he's got like a lab coat on and overalls underneath that, and who is consistently crazying away at this discovery of pure illusion. You know, he's our token mad scientist, because every show needs to have one. As far as our next character, we have Sayuri, who is pretty much his assistant and is the more grounded of the science people, so she's very necessary for the group. And also, as far as our lead character's school, we have one character who stands out the most, and that is our art teacher. And she is, well, we'll talk about her a little bit more about what's important about her. But,
2 things. One, is she a teacher or like a upperclassman? I was thinking she was like an upperclassman.
Yeah, me too.
You know what? You might be right. She actually no. You're right. They do say senpai, not
sensei.
Yeah, you're right.
And B, art is a science, so she's in the section too. Deal with it.
So, with that being said, who could possibly voice these scientifically minded people? I'm glad you asked. For Dr. Hidaka, we have David Matrunga, who you have heard in a couple of things, because he goes between Sentai and Funimation, so there's a good chance you've heard him in a show before. Just as a couple examples, he is Subaru in Gigi's favorite show, Brothers Conflict. He is Yu in EF Tales of Memory, and he was Junichi in Kids on the Slope. As for Sayuri, she is voiced by Chelsea McCurdy, and Chelsea has been in a lot of things in more recent memory. She was Tsubasa in Gatchaman Crowds, she was Futaba in Review Starlight, and she is Ayase in Chivalry of a Failed Knight. And now, as for our art student, I'm sorry, I got that confused in the whole show itself, but Iroha is voiced by Kira Vincent Davis, and she has been in stuff like the heartwarming romantic comedy Elfin Lied as New. She's also in that heartwarming romantic comedy Clanad as Tomoyo, and she is in, I actually don't know if this is a comedy or not because I haven't seen it yet, but she is Izuna in No Game, No Life.
No Game, No Life is No Game, No Life. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, it speaks for itself.
She's a furry in that.
Speaking of speaking for himself, Andrew, I know you've got some scientifically minded opinions on these three characters and flip-flappers.
Okay, let's see. Where should I start first? Let's start with Iroha. Iroha is probably underrated best girl of the show in regards to, I love her design, and I love the end of her episode where she does that really cute thing where she flashes her nails, and I just, like, the whole thing is that basically they go into pure illusion accidentally, and they reveal one of the secret hidden functions of pure illusion is you can basically interfere with somebody's past and mind in pure illusion. They, through happenstance, wind up in Iroha's past, where Paprika and Coconut essentially play a younger version of Iro and live out the story of how her parents' marriage was falling apart and she went to art to run away from it, and her attachment to her grandmother, who was slowly succumbing to dementia.
No, it wasn't even her grandma. Like, she called her a grandma, but she wasn't actually her grandma.
I wasn't sure what was up with that.
Yeah, some of the bystanders who are like the exposition fairies basically say, like, that woman took in a girl. What's gonna happen when she gets old? And because her grandma, quote unquote, was a school teacher, but she never actually had children of her own. But the point is still that she basically treated Iroha as her granddaughter, which, you know, meant a lot to her.
Yes, I like the very calm, soothing older senpai art student vibe that Kira gave this character. Every time I heard her talk, I felt very at home and comfy, which I think was the exact vibe to give this character. We don't really get to see, like, the meat of her more emotional revelations, because that is basically Paprika and Coconut's job through that episode. But we see the more casual, calm nature of her with the tea and the painted nails, and she just has a really good design and some very interesting abstract paintings. I think Kira does a good job. I'm personally less a fan of Sayuri's actress. I think she does alright for the most part. It just sounds like this was one of the ones I thought was not as consistent in its delivery throughout the show, and that was a little disappointing to me. That being said, I think she does a good job being a, like, big sister figure as well, and she's nice to the girls, and it's funny to see her interact with Salt at the end when they're essentially trying to save the world, and she's flustered. Oh god, he has to get naked to save the world, which, don't we all? Like, it's
There is not a single post-apocalyptic story where the lead character doesn't have to get naked to save the world. Not a single one.
It just sounded like Sayuri's actress was a little more inconsistent compared to a lot of the other performances, and I wasn't as big a fan, though I do think she does a alright job, like, being, like, talking to the girls, and especially interacting in those last couple of episodes, which had a lot of comedic banter in regards to getting held up at gunpoint and trying to deal with the craziness of the end of the world, basically. And speaking of crazy, holy shit, I cannot believe that's David Matranga. I, honest to God, did not... I knew he was in this cast. I wasn't sure who exactly is he in this show, because I'm hearing him for several episodes. I'm like, who the hell is that guy? He sounds very eccentric and odd, but I can't piece it together, and it's like, that's David Matranga. He is mad scientist, swirly glasses, basically on the 11th level throughout the entire show, as he is basically on a level of screaminess to rival Robot Boo. Is that he's basically humanoid Boo, is that he's screaming, doing eccentric sciencey things, basically talking kind of like this and talking about how things are going to go about, and here's what the science thinks is going on. Don't you go and mess with my things.
And I take it that you approve of that direction.
And then the one part that kills me, is like in the last episode when he finally summons the robot body for Boo, is when he finally breaks into like his much more like shoujo, stern, sexy Matranga voice. It's finally that time, and it's the only time he ever does it in the whole show. And the fact that he does it once to be that very stern thing when he takes off the glasses, I was dying because I was not expecting that sudden shift in voice. And the fact that I knew David Matranga was capable of that level of like hyper like pitched comedy was impressive. Like, I did not expect that from David Matranga, and I was very impressed. Well done, sir.
I'm glad that you said that, because I was a little worried that there was going to be some more dissension about having a character who's this much of a cartoon character. So,
oh no, I welcome the cartoon bullshit in this show. It's great.
What about you, Shannon? Do you welcome the cartoon bullshit?
So, I liked the... I like the eccentric guy the best. Again, I just feel like it was very natural to... What's his face? How do you say his name?
David Matranga.
No, not Matranga. His character.
Hidaka.
I feel like Hidaka's like, it felt like a little campy. It felt kind of off, like as if the voice was kind of like scrunched up on purpose. Yet, I'm gonna say, however, my issue with that voice is that maybe it sounds a little too like on the nose for what that kind of show is. I know we need something translatable, but maybe as a critique, maybe I was expecting too much of what it was. As for his lab assistant Sayori, I really don't have much to say on her because Chelsea McCurdy sounded really kind of ordinary, honestly. Like female voices. If there was a con, female voices was probably my confusing bit, because at worst, sometimes two actors could sound the same, and I would get confused. And then there was the other one. Which one was it again?
The art senpai.
Iroha. It was Kira Vincent Davis.
Okay. She was the one exception. Because she had a more proper ambiance to that character, and I really liked... What does my note say here? Oh, yeah,
I don't know. You need to tell us.
Nail polish. Your notes say
this
just
is
nail
a Kira
polish.
Vincent Davis character. There it is. This is it. Yes,
I
wrote here in one sentence, a nice gentle air of a voice. Yes, it was a very... It was. I could tell that there was some distinction with it, especially towards her mini arc.
Yeah, we see her in for like, she's introduced in a couple episodes, and then we have one full episode devoted to her, and I don't think we see her again after that, though.
Yeah. She kind of just disappears into the void.
She's the only other character who, aside from Kokona, which we'll talk about, she's the only other one whose backstory or insight we really get.
I mean, to the characters on, it's not, I don't feel that sense of finishing, but I guess that's okay with how jank the script was supposed to be. But I like that mystique. It was gentle, but I felt the kind of mystique to want me to know more about her. So yeah, it's kind of on a 2 for 3.
And that's good.
I think the thing that they were implying was that it kind of seemed like she was losing her interest in art, or like throwing out some of her paintings, because they went to her mind, basically, though they didn't elaborate too much on that. Just that they went into her mind, and okay, that's kind of dangerous to go around in people's heads. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, if were they doing that as like a deeper symbolism on how she truly feels, or is it just pure illusion? You know, being pure illusion.
Well, we're meant to take it as that's actually what happened to her in terms of her, like her grandma character losing her memory while also being an artist to try to deal with the difficulty of her parents who are always fighting with each other. As far as like the overall arc of the show, it kind of felt like it was supposed to represent a different version of the same problem that Kokona is going through. Because in her case, in Kokona's case, she doesn't know what she wants to do. Like, the entire arc is, I don't know who I am, what I want to do, what do I do? With Iroha, she did figure out what she wanted to do. You know, she figured out that she's into art, but she's struggling with that uncertainty of, like, do I want to pursue this continuously going forward? And so the show likes to dive into those, real human problems, and they just use the pure illusion world to kind of explore that through a different visual mean. But that's just my theory. An anime theory.
Boo!
I'll get off the stage now.
Yes,
Jamal,
you
here's the
do that.
microphone. Take my spot.
Okay, first let me start with Sayori. Chelsea McCurdy, between this and review style, like, she doesn't get a lot to do in this show, and I thought her voice was actually pretty natural for the most part. I can see where Andrew's coming from, that is kind of underwhelming, but it's like, compared to all the other season events of this show, it was bound to get lost in the show somewhere. Kira Vincent Davis as Aloha, I didn't really know Aloha much as a character until we get into a backstory, which that whole thing with her grandma kind of hit me too close to home, and like almost exactly, but I'm not gonna get into that. I did like her voice for the most part, and I like how you said that she has a air of ambiance, Shannen, because she sounds like a cross between a live version of Michelle Rojas and Mallory Roddick, and Mallory Roddick tends to have an air of elegance to her sometimes. As for Hideka, I call bullshit. I call bullshit.
Are we dipping into voice acting black magic again?
Yes. Because when I started to cast this, I'm like, wait, David Matranga was in this show? I was like, which one was he?
Oh yeah, he was Paprika.
That would have been a very awkward show.
It would have made a lot more sense for, like, episode 7, where there are, like, 8 different Paprikas. He could have been probably the very handsome boy Paprika.
Yeah, yes. We'll revisit that episode later on.
We shall.
You damn right we shall.
We owl with a showl.
So when I found out the hard way was David Matranga, I was like, no freaking way. Because I'm like, I didn't know he could go out there, because I'm more used to him as like a Todoroki kind of guy, you know, that deep voice of his and so on. So especially when you get to episode 9, it's like, man, this one really kind of takes the cake for him. I guess it's something different for him to do, even if he doesn't show up in the show as much. At least he shows up more than the sidekicks. He's having a lot of fun with it regardless. And what was it I was gonna say? Oh yeah, and also, I can't believe he's playing another pink-haired doctor ever since Carnival.
I cannot believe we brought up Carnival tonight. That was that on a bucket list?
We're just checking off every show we can tonight.
Again, this show has a lot of references to other shows, so this could not have been a coincidence.
You're right. Especially with the one thing that they really wanted was they wanted an entire robot reference episode, and they got it in episode 8.
Oh my god! They made a freaking Super Sentai theme for that episode.
Yes.
I need to go download that
shit.
now because that's such a good song. Flip flapping. Oh my god, it's so cool.
I'm glad you enjoyed that, because I mean, I know the show has like some references to other anime, but that felt like the one where it's like, we just want a giant robot episode, and here it is.
Also, since there's no real place to really talk about it, Kira Vincent Davis is also the voice of that one dominatrix purple lady from the Mad Max episode.
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to fit her in the cast discussion, but yeah.
We're bringing her up now. Did you say she was hot?
No, I said she's not best girl.
I heard you say she was hot, and I was like, okay, we're learning some things about Noah tonight.
Well, she is, but that's beside the point.
Before I had to look her up, I thought it was another actress we'll get to later. But yeah, man. Kira's impressive. Anyway, moving on.
So yeah, as far as Kira Vincent Davis is, I wrote down that she's got a sweeter voice with a husky undertone, which definitely does stand out from the other female characters in the cast, because most of them have a bit of a higher voice, except for one more that we'll get to in a bit. So yeah, I would have enjoyed her if she had been around a little bit more, but the bits that we get, she really leaves a strong impression, not just because of the design or because of the tragic backstory, but because of her actual acting performances. So that was it was greatly enjoyable to hear that, and I give her high thumbs up on that. Probably my second favorite standalone voice acting of the entire cast. Chelsea's, she's... Okay, Andrew, you said that she was inconsistent throughout, but I think she was also written inconsistently in the original show, because in episode 8, she's pestering Hidaka about cleaning up his room, so we take her to be like more of a no-nonsense kind of character. Then in a little more bit of time, she's like more concerned voice, and then when we get to let's save the world, she's getting a lot more spastic and
you know what?
Freaked out by everything going on.
I think that's totally fair too. It's just, I think that's a fair point.
I mean, I'll also agree with Shannen that she's got the most normal sounding of all the voices, like not just in the acting, but like her actual pitch is given the most normal inflection. So she's not supposed to stand out so much because she's supposed to be more of a straight man to Hidaka anyway. I think that the belief that she was just inconsistent just had to do with how she was written in the show itself. But I do want to applaud her for covering the range of emotions that they give her, because they couldn't quite figure out what they wanted to do with her. They're just like, we need a sidekick scientist character, and this is how we got that there. So that deserves some credit, I think, for Chelsea. I don't want to write her off entirely as forgettable. I want to give her credit for handling that job. And speaking of handling the job, no, I do not believe that this was David Matranga. I believe that this was an alternative version of him, plucked out of Pure Illusion and brought into ours for the sole purpose of this episode.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he's obviously the most cartoonish of all of the acting in this. And like I said with Mark and Jay, it's easy to be goofy in voice acting, but it's hard to be goofy and enjoyable. And coupled with the spastic animation of the whole thing, I think David does it well. Like, I can't imagine a level that you could, like, push the roof on here. Like, unless you get into, like, Mark Hamill level voice acting, this is about as good as it gets in terms of enjoyable, crazy characters. And I really enjoy the fact that they gave him not just all the episodes where he's, being a crazy scientist with the squiggly eyes, but they also give him an episode where it's basically, I am a kid playing with my toys like they're giant robots mentality. That was a really fun episode to watch, and I just kind of throw all symbolism out the door, because the show obviously likes to explore growing up. Like, that's the main theme of the show.
I feel like the giant robot episode was one guy, literally his most specific fantasies. It's like, on the one hand, you got giant robots galore. You got Super Sentai transforming giant robots, cool animation, slick action, everything's going on. You got the theme song, and you also have school uniform swimsuits and very cramped spaces. So, very much his specific niche and his specific fetish, probably.
Yeah, I think I actually said when that episode first aired years ago, what did I say? I'm gonna find the exact tweet here, because I remember commenting on that exact episode. It was, and I quote, "Magical girls in swimsuits piloting giant robots to battle giant aliens destroying the city. It's so Japanese it hurts."
Boy, howdy.
And I have no problem with that, because you know what? If you're going to have a show that's shamelessly about all of the tropes of anime, you may as well go all out with it. So,
Hell yeah.
I know we're trying to talk about the voice acting here, but I had to call out that particular episode because it's like, this is such a Japanese show. There are some universal elements you can get from it, like you can relate to some of the problems that the characters go through, obviously, but that one part there is like, no, this is for Japanese people, or at least for otaku specifically, and thank God for it. So that's my take on the science. Have we concluded this experiment and ready to move on?
I don't know.
I think we
there's
have another experiment up next.
Perhaps we should get a scientist to help us out with this next experiment. So,
Don't forget your test subject.
the test subjects. How does the essence of salt work when it comes to procreation?
you told me you were going to keep it classy tonight, Andrew.
I tried. I failed.
Classy spots and anything but.
It didn't last that very long now, did it?
I lasted for an hour. Hopefully. Oh, I'm hoping. Do you think salt lasted that long?
Hey, if there's anyone who could, it would be this voice actor.
Okay, let's introduce these.
Okay.
Let's talk about these characters.
So, we have titled this sequence World's Best Parents, because in a show that is all about the difficulties of adolescence, most of the time you're going to need parents to also give you trouble, because parents can be trouble sometimes. In this case, oh boy, have we got some Freudian problems here. So, we have two characters that are, without spoiling anything, no, let's spoil everything, they are Kokona's parents. And they met each other because one of them is a scientist and the other is a test subject to get into pure illusion. And those characters are Dr. Salt, who is actually his dad was the one who started the research into how to get regular people into pure illusion, because normal people can't get into this fantasy world where anything can happen, which is a real shame because it looks like a lot of fun. And in order to get into that fantasy world, they needed Mimi. Mimi is, to their knowledge, the only person who can go into pure illusion by herself. And their encounter is mixed with peril, heartache, and a little bit of paprika. And now we need to get English actors.
God fucking
You
Damn
just
it.
realized that?
God.
Here we go!
I just got it. Salt and
I knew
paprika.
that for a while.
No, let him have this, Jamal. Let him have this moment of realization.
I never pieced that together.
What is...
Fuck.
This is what this episode is about, teaching you all of the things, Andrew.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, speaking of Jesus Christ, the voice of Salt is David Wald.
What?
Oh, he's salty, alright.
And we just lost 50% of our viewers who have fainted from just the main sound of David Wald, because as Gigi has coined him, he is Thunder Daddy himself. Because you have heard him in a lot of things before. You have heard him in... Where did I put my notes here? They're drenched in sweat. God, where did I put that? He's Bishop in Garo, the pinnacle of manliness. He is Wealth in You Should Absolutely Not Pick Up Any Girls in a Dungeon. What is wrong with you? And he is... he is Thunder Daddy in... I'm gonna get...
Kakario bed and breakfast for spirits.
Thank you. I keep getting Kakario and Kakagurui mixed up with each other.
Kakafadere.
Everything. That show's getting a sequel. Can't wait for that. So, and now also on the other end of the spectrum, we have Mimi, who is voiced by Shelly Colleen Black. Shelly Colleen Black has been in quite a few Sentai shows. You probably have heard her as Kyo in Clanad. Yes, we're going to mention Clanad again.
Yay!
She's Kanata in Chivalry of a Failed Knight. And she's also Saki in Dream Eater Mary, which is a show that I still need to watch. So these two characters have an interesting dynamic, and I'm just gonna let you take it away. But let's mix up the roles a little bit here. Jamal, I want you to go first.
Ah, you fuck.
Well, starting off, only thing I know Shay Colleen Black, as far as I can recall, she's the fried chicken lady from Food Wars.
Mm.
But it's amazing how well she handles this role, because she has to play two different sides if you've seen the show, and I thought, as unique as the dynamic is also kind of terrifying too, because for anybody that plays video games, if you look up the game Fear, it's the way Mimi's kind of handled is equivalent to Alma Wade, and well, if you know the story, you know what's gonna happen here. But I thought she handled the good aspects and the bad aspects of Mimi very well, especially where she's concerned for Coconut. David Walder's Salt, on the other hand, it was kind of surprising because, you know, another nickname we sometimes have for him is the Dilf Whisperer.
I wasn't gonna mention that, but I'm glad you.
Yeah,
I'm glad
this is not one, because he's kind of more on the bad dad aspect if you think about it, because he acknowledges his mistakes and tends to atone for it.
He's literally get in the box, Coconut.
Yeah.
He's even got the glasses to go with it.
He does!
Yeah.
He does!
He does. And so, David handles all aspects of Salt very well, especially when you go into the flashbacks between them. Now, that's where I kind of had a little issue with David, because when you hear David as... Because that was David as young Salt, by the way.
That was him as both teenage Salt and baby Salt, yeah.
Baby Salt, it was kind of a little hard to get used to, but as always, David's acting is on point. And Baby Mimi was very impressive, because I was concerned that it would have been like too old for the character, but it worked very well. And despite what may have happened in the end, I thought these two were kind of emotionally engaging, in a sense. It's kind of hard to put into words. You would have to see the show for yourself to understand.
Let's see. Forbidden love plus mad scientist equals tragedy.
Again, if you've seen the game Fear, you know exactly what's going to happen. Especially the third one.
Oh, what are these video games that you speak of?
It's what you should probably do instead of have... I ain't going there. I'm not going there. Never mind.
We get it, Noah. You're an old man.
I know all about video games. You know, I played Quake and Myst and all those high-tech games. I love you too, Jamal. Shannen, I'm gonna give the microphone over to you. So, as far as world's best parents go, what do you think of their acting?
I am wholeheartedly in agreement with Jamal on Mimi. I felt like her role was done really well. Good job. Good job, Shelly. Like, you can really tell she was playing up to two different roles. Something very motherly, something of a mother that lost a chance to ever be in her daughter's life, forcefully, to reiterate, but at the same time, you can tell her emotions are getting the better of her, where it's almost not her anymore, which it wasn't. Kinda. It was.
Kinda, so... It was, but it wasn't.
It wasn't, but it wasn't.
Like, when we take it as to be, like, the worst aspect of her, even if it's not who she really is.
As for Wald, I'm actually kind of disappointed I pointed him out so quickly. Like, it was like, David Wald's voice got some girth to it. And yeah, I wrote here, for example, ooh, my bad, ooh, no. For, like, the first thing I wrote, man, is his voice salty, alright. It sounds like his
Get off the stage.
Yes. It sounds like the sound to the name of the deep, and the deep strongness does fit the character. But it's almost on the stripes of I can point him out in a crowd type thing, or at least I can point out I heard this voice before, and maybe.
But is that a negative?
I mean, no. Like when we get to the backstory, the emotional range shows up, but like he just grunts a lot and be's all butthurt in the beginning, which Salt is. But I'm mixed because I just wish there was more emotion in the beginning too, but I guess that's how it rolls. But it was solid. If nothing else, both performances were solid.
Yeah, because he didn't have a whole lot to do in the original Japanese anyway, in those first few episodes.
Yeah, that's what I put into account. He didn't have much to do, but compared to what I said about the side characters before, these two are the most consistent. You can tell.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
Alright, so Andrew.
Okay, so first off, David Wald is a man with a very great voice, and you can very much tell, like, Salt, the fact that I could say the anime character Salt, as portrayed by David Wald, is such a surreal sentence in and of itself, but I love that I could say it. That being said, David Wald has a very deep register when it comes to this character in the beginning, is that he's very gruff, like, manly, authoritative kind of character. He's the man behind the desk in the shadows. You know there's something going on. He's a man of few words that gets results. And then you learn a little more about his past, and you get to see him as, like, a wee baby child and as a teenager. And honestly, he actually sounds pretty convincing as, like, a wee baby child. He's there just long enough for it to be like, okay, I can hear it, but it's not, like, grating or really straining. It sounds more like, oh, this is what a younger David Wald character sounds like to me. As well as, like, the teenager voice, which is a lot more natural and what I'm used to, like, more calm, bishy characters of David Wald's plays. He does a very good range and gets to do a lot more, especially in the final third of the show, and I think he does a good job showing off all that and really playing around with the part. Now let's talk Shelly. Yeah. Holy shit, Shelly is scary.
I know, right?
Like,
Andrew, tell me about your mother.
My mother is thankfully not as clingy as this one. Thankfully. Oh my god. Okay, first off, she is very, like, sweet. She starts off sweet, soft-natured, like, nurturing, caring. Like, she's a little stern and cold, but she opens up to the world around her as she starts bonding with Paprika and as she starts becoming, like, attached to Salt and...
Really
like,
attached to Salt.
Pretty attached to Salt. Almost at the hip, if you will.
We're classy.
Oh boy, we are fucking no, why?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Sex happens. Anyways, back on track. Now, as for when things start going awry, and you start seeing, like, the drama of her running away, and her realizing, oh, in order to save everybody I care about, I have to let my darker side go, because pure illusion can show you the side of you that you want to be, but that side also takes control and stuff. So basically, what we see for the rest of the show, and basically the central antagonist for the final act, is the darker version of Mimi, and oh my god, is this like a level of scary motherhood that's like... I don't know, it's just... There's something sinister and diabolical. You can feel there is earnest love in her heart for Coconut, but you can tell it is extremely twisted and contorted to the point that it's just like she is judging and she is just diabolical, especially in those last episodes when she starts screaming and going all out like, how dare you hit your mother? You are a bad child. I will not put up with this. Like, the tone she takes at the level of, like, screaming anger. And also her final form, her final boss form is so goddamn cool. Like, I love that
Silly
design.
Coconut. This isn't
But
even
no.
my final form.
Shelly plays two sides of the coin of sweet, nurturing, doting mother, and also, like, diabolical, controlling, self-centered witch of a mother, and god, she plays both pretty stellar. I'm very impressed, and I think she did a great job.
Yeah, that final bit there, like, I had forgotten how scary she gets in the end, because I'd gotten up to, like, episode 12, and I was like, she gets no worse than this, right? But no, during that final battle scene where Kokona is basically rejecting her mother's clinginess, and she goes full Morlock, yeah, I'd completely forgotten how terrifying that was. And to give a lot of credit to Shelley, she is actually my favorite actor in this my favorite performance in the whole thing. Not just because of those final scenes where she's having a lot of fun being totally evil, but also she's the most consistently believable in terms of the emotions. Like, there wasn't a single line where it sounded flat or where it sounded unmotivated. Her entire arc between being a test subject for science trying to get into Wonderland and then, you know, having a child and caring for that, wanting to take care of her child and cloister her off from the rest of the world, and then being exceptionally upset at the world for trying to take her away from her. All of that was, like, really well done. And I think that's where the writing and directing has its strongest moments, because in the original Japanese as well, that's where the most motivation comes in. And so that's why I think Shelley has, like, the best part in the whole thing. So I would have been more disappointed if, like, someone not as strong an actor was in that part, but she does a really good job. I don't have as many things to say about David's performance, just because, like you guys said, he doesn't really do a whole lot in the beginning portions, and when we see more of his backstory about why he is trying to get into pure illusion, or his entire backstory with Mimi, you kind of feel for him. Like, okay, I've been watching, like, the other night, I watched Castle in the Sky. Have you guys seen that movie?
I have. It's been a bit.
Okay, well, in the dub for that movie, the lead characters are children who are like 8 or 10, and the lead boy is voiced by God, what's his name? It's something Vanderbeek. I can't remember his first name. James Vanderbeek. Thank you. And so he doesn't sound anything like a little boy at all.
No,
no, not at all. By contrast, David Wald's acting as more of a teenage version of himself in the flashbacks. I bought that as a young man who hadn't quite gone through his 20s yet, and knowing that, you know, David Wald has that low, commanding voice in the later scenes, that really did surprise me. So I'll give him full credit for not having to cast separate actors to be the younger versions of the two characters. I don't really have any more to say about the dramatic portions of it, just that it's a strong, naturally commanding voice that I don't think he even had to act at all. He just wakes up in the morning, brushes his teeth, and sounds like that. We call him Thunder Daddy for a reason.
You stop that right now. I can't. We cannot have a serious conversation if we're going to keep saying the phrase Thunder Daddy, okay, Noah Clue?
Do you want me to go back to calling him the Dilf Whisperer?
Thunder Daddy it is.
So yeah, so we got messed up parents. I guess we should probably get into our messed up children as well. Are you guys ready to move on?
I'm ready to talk about some very evil children and one very, very good girl.
You say that, but okay, if you question my tastes earlier, I'm really questioning your tastes here. But we don't kink shame on this podcast. But what we do, though, is we do talk about antagonistic children who are trying to get the shards from pure illusion. Because in traditional magical girl style, we have 3 characters who are sent by the evil organization to gather an untold number of shards that will allow anyone to enter into pure illusion, because that is what magical girls do. In this case, we have Yayaka, who is pretty much our third lead character. It's the blonde-haired, feisty magical girl who is working for the bad guys and is also a childhood friend of Kokona.
She's the childhood friend slash third wheel slash rival virile Virgil character.
Slash extra baggage. Slash.
Yeah.
There you need it.
Yeah.
Slash question mark.
Oh, trust me, slashing will happen quite a bit with this character. Speaking of slashing, she's got 2 sidekick characters too. She's got Toto and Yu, who are these twins who I'm not entirely sure if they're like
Siamese if you please.
You promised you wouldn't. Okay, I promised you could sing a song in this episode. I didn't tell you could sing a Peggy Lee song.
I was singing like the Siamese song from Lady and the Tramp.
I know, but it was written by Peggy Lee.
Okay.
I know too much about animation history, but anyways, Toto and Yu are, yeah, they're like this evil cybernetic twin characters who help Yayaka try to get the shards from Kokona and Papika for the, I'm assuming they're like evil priest characters who are also trying to get into pure illusion. Like every show like this has to have evil characters like
okay, question I want to ask, since we're talking about the evil cultist priest guys.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if they ever confirmed it or if it was only alluded. I'm pretty sure, I personally thought, like, the lead priest guy was Salt's dad who went cuckoo for Coconut Puffs.
Yeah, you'd think so.
It's never really, like, there's no point where he takes off of his hood to really nail that point home. I don't think he was, because the last we see of Salt's dad in that flashback sequence, he's, like, he has gone completely crazy. And so I don't think he's ever gotten back to the point of being, like, composed enough to be a cult leader. But I could be wrong.
Okay, I want you to say the phrase composed enough to be a cult leader again.
Okay.
And reflect on that for a second.
You know what? I'm going to retract that statement, and I'm just going to... I'm going to jump into cast listing. Like, who actually plays evil twins and question marks possibly evil girl? It's up for debate. So, Yayaka is played by Patricia Duran. And Patricia has been in quite a few shows. We talked about her recently on Review Starlight. She's Hikaru. She was also in Girls in Panzer as Momo. And she is Julia in... am I saying this right, Jamal? Is it Dureiko?
Dureiku.
Dureiku, okay. So, I haven't seen it yet. So, yeah, she's been in quite a few Sentai shows.
You should watch it with the kids.
I don't know if you're actually being honest or not.
I'm not. I'm not being
Andrew
honest.
we're talking about.
Yeah, this is as edgy as crisp toast can get.
It's about as edgy as crisp toast can get. I like that phrase. I'm gonna use that. Thank you, Shannon.
Speaking of edgy, Toto is played by Philip Hayes. I'm afraid I don't have as many named roles for Philip, but that's okay because he has been around for a couple of shows done recently. He's in Haikyuu, he's also in Ushio and Tora, and he is Tatsuo in the Sentai dub of Squid Girl. Carly Moisier is the one who voices Yu, and I don't know if this is one that I just don't remember, but I don't think I've ever heard, like, I don't recognize the name, so this is a bit of a surprise to me trying to look up some of her...
Carly Mosier?
Yeah.
Really? Didn't you watch New Game?
Who is she in that one?
Hazuki!
She's the president of Eagle Jump.
Oh, I didn't recognize it. I didn't recognize that name when going through her cast list because, like, here's the things that I wrote down for her. She's Izumi in Beyond the Boundary, which I haven't seen. She's Toko in Danganronpa, which I haven't seen / played, and she is Yuiko in Little Busters, which I have also never seen
/ played.
I haven't played it either. But I apologize. I didn't realize that she was the cat-loving president in New Game.
Yep. You learn something new.
I do. So, I guess, speaking of learning, Shannon, would you like to talk about our antagonist first?
Okay, boy, here comes gloves are off. Gloves.
Yay!
Gloves, okay, I want to talk about the twins first, because I've been holding this in all night. Why is Philip Payne's voice so deep? Like, the moment he started saying something coming out of his mouth, I was like, what the fuck? It, like there's not fitting the contrast for the sake of being artsy. And then there's just, why? Like it's that type, okay, so it's that type of deadpan serious type voice that you get in anime a lot?
Yeah.
So, it's never been done before, but it's just so, it's like if it's Philip Haynes in a school uniform, and he just, like, did the thing go. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I did get used to the performance of Toto, which is his name.
His name is after a dog.
Yes, I got used to Toto, after like once after the ending part. But by that point, when the twins were finally being fleshed out, it was kind of already too late. Like for me and for him to be washed. Like like every time he talks, he completely sucks up he's like, oh, here he comes, coming in here to like kind of like throw a wrench in all the plans.
Isn't that literally the whole deal with these characters, is just to throw a wrench in the plan anyway?
Yeah, but this one was unintentional, and I don't think they were. And I refuse to give them credit for that one. Yu Yu, on the other hand, is just kind of like it's okay. It's not my favorite. For Carly Moyers is the voice of Yu Yu, but Yayaka's voice is where it's at. It's also one of the lines of one of my favorites. Patricia Duran's voice, like, oh my god, it's smooth as butter. I may not be good at keeping track of her when she's on screen, but I wanted more of that performance, man. It sounded like the natural Yankee we were always meant to be. It's not over the top, but it was one of the few voices that reeled me in.
I love that you refer to her as a Yankee, because that's like, I don't know what the archetype for that is on the woman side of it, because I've only really seen
Yankee is punk, not wearing like the proper school uniform, dyed hair. She fits the bill.
I know. Like, there's a character like that in Tanaka-kun is Always Listless that didn't sound exactly like this, because she was like, she was sweet on the inside. So yeah, I like the
Yankee character is a tough as nails, I'm gonna punch you in the face type of person, but on the inside is very childish and more pure than she thinks she is. Because
I'm from the tri-state area, so hearing you all say Yankee is making me feel weird.
Yes, but like Yayaka's voice is perfect for that type of role. Like she tries to be at first the friend that keeps her out of it because she doesn't want to fight her.
Right.
But then she can't go back, and then she's like, okay, screw this, I'm out, and basically shows her up, hoping that she would quit, or gets rid of Papika because she now has to fight her friend. But you over time see that like Yayaka's very, very pure. Like it's true that I could never understand why she joined an obviously cultish organization.
I think she was just born into it as like an orphan.
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't a conscientious decision. I'm born.
It's
into
either
this.
You do this or you get the fuck out, or worse.
Well, I mean, she didn't know anything else. Like, if you grow up in a gang all your life, then you don't know anything else.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what makes the character even more enveloped. It's that like, this is not a Yankee character around other Yankee girls. It's a Yankee character in like some kind of Ku Klux Klan society worship cult about one girl stuck in everybody's wet dreams. Literally.
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it, but
how bad how she was raised in. I think she turned out okay, all things considered.
They had pointy hats, man. I tell it like it is.
You're right. God damn it. Thank you.
And the sad thing is that's not new. Like, you go back to stuff like Nadia, Secret of Blue Water, and they have the exact same archetypes in that too.
Look, Mimi can't be too bad if she killed the Ku Klux Klan. Just saying.
Yeah, all I'm just saying overall is that it's if I had rating the antagonist, it's like kind of a D on the twins, because it's taking a cliche trope and just kind of fucking it up in kind of a weird way. And then you have Yayaka, who was like the spot on natural voice of that. So good job and good job and
You know what? That's better than you all sucked. So thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Jamal, want to jump in on this discussion about Best Girl and Worst Twins?
First off, the Best Girl fight, I believe it to y'all three. I'm staying the fuck out of this. Total Phil Pace, I mean, I'm sure you're good guys. obviously he's not well familiar with. I thought his voice did alright. I also realized now that Toto was the guy in the intro who's just stiff as this board spinning around while missiles are firing from behind him.
Okay,
That makes me laugh too.
That image is very funny because everything else looks very hyper realistic, motion wise, and then there's just him just nonchalantly just kind of spinning like wee as he's shooting lasers. Boop.
Yeah, you. This is where I kind of got confused because when you brought up the bondage lady in episode 3, I thought that was you. I was like, damn, Connie Bullshit did a good job.
It gets even worse when you consider that there's a character named New who does nothing. Like,
voiced by Emily Deeves, who's always amazing.
Look, we can sum that up in like 2 sections.
New's name is literally just she's the new kid. That's what.
Yes, we know.
She has a gun and a thong, and that's basically it.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, Kai Motion is being Kai Motion, so she does a pretty good job as always. Yayaka, on the other hand, Patricia is really living up to her name because Yayaka really is like hungry like the wolf. Because, god damn.
You had, of all the musicals of bands you could have referenced, you went with the Duran Duran reference.
Yes.
I can almost respect that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I thought this was my first exposure to Patricia Duran. Like I said, Flip Flappers, like I said in Review Starlight, like I pretty much like got comfortable with her voice. I really liked her performance and everything, and like full confession, when I first heard this, I thought I actually confused her with Stephanie Widows for a second, but when I saw Yayaka coming to her own, Patricia really kind of knocked it out of the park for me. It's kind of hard to put into words, but also, since we're talking about Yayaka, can we talk about the fact that she is like gear like from Attack on Titan, like that little, what the fuck they call them, ODM gears?
Omni movement gear.
I think it's called omnidirectional gear. Copyright.
Omnidirectional gear. Yeah, she got like the grappling hooks and everything. I thought that was pretty cool. That's also another reference in the show here. But yeah, Yayaka as a character, like, it really impressed me. And Patricia had to match that energy like minute for minute, and I thought she handled it very well. And I really don't have any more to say. I really want to, but I can't muster anything up right now.
I gotcha.
Would you say that trying to describe how good the voice is just wouldn't do it justice, Jamal?
Oh, because for one thing, she has to handle all the different aspects of Yayaka from when she has to obey the orders of the
pointy hat people.
Of the pointy hat people, yes.
The non-discreet pointy hat people.
Yeah, they don't even have I don't think they have a proper name.
They're called the Organization, which is the most chuny thing ever.
They're the guys who got too up in their asses about research and now want to just glorify themselves over a lady that killed them in their wet dreams. That's legit what it was. There we go.
Yeah, the fact that like at some point like she has to make a decision, a life or death decision, like whether she stays with this group or goes to the other. And she has to protect Coconut at all times. Like, it's kind of very conflicted, and that was not an easy feat for Patricia Duran to deal with.
So, Andrew, you said that she was best girl. I guess now we gotta let you explain why she is best girl.
Before I get to that, I'll do my duty and go around the table. The twins, Toto and Yu. They're interesting foils. They're good designs. They're fun side antagonists who are kind of cold and stuff, but this is one of those things I've had issue before where there is cognitive dissonance between the design of the character and the sound of the voice. Specifically in regards to, I think this is applicable to both Philip and Carly in this scenario, because these characters look like they're like 10, 11 at most, and they sound like they're in their like late teens, early 20s.
Exactly. Thank you.
And, like, here's the thing. The part they have down is the monotone and the coldness in their delivery. That is correct, and they do that part well. The problem is just that, like, I know Carly does a good job, and even though he's, like, a newer name, I think Philip does have the potential to do good stuff. It's just, they sound too old for the way these characters look. And that's something that has been at odds with me throughout the entire dub. I think they do grow on me, and I think they do emote when they need to, and are very good at doing, like, the cold action villain shtick. But it's just the fact that they sound too old for what their designs entail.
So what you're saying is, going back to the Higurashi episode we had not so long ago, they should have cast actual children, is what you're saying, right?
I should no.
We should have gotten actual children to voice the cyborg killer robot children who have cyborg arms and spin around and shoot lasers out, obviously.
Also, I'd almost argue that the entire point that these characters exist is so they could do that horror episode and do the Shining reference. Like, as soon as I saw the robot go down the hallway, they're in the school uniforms and they're holding hands, it's like, okay, this is probably why these characters exist. Until they actually have more of a character thing later on. And it's like,
I wholeheartedly agree.
I mean,
now,
I could argue that they fit into other tropes, and the show is very trope heavy, but I mean,
it's very dependent on doing all that and doing a flashy thing with this. Now, you want to talk about a trope I really like? I like the anti-hero rival character essentially becoming like a lead protagonist at the very end. And god fucking damn it, I love Yayaka as a character. I think she's one of the most complicated and well-built characters in the show. And this is probably my first real instance running into Patricia Durand. And that being said, she does a good job doing this kind of sassy, laid-back, no-nonsense girl who's just kind of living school sort of nonchalantly. But when it comes to her work and her actual, like, attitude when it comes to facing her childhood friend, I think the way she handles that action, being an antagonist, but also being a conflicted, this is my best friend, I'm gonna have to fight her, I'm probably going to have to lose her to somebody else who just showed up into her life. I was always there for her, but I was always there by choice until I realized, no, she cared for me as me regardless of who I was, and I want to protect that, and I want to protect her. And all I'm saying is, you can always make room for an OT3, just saying. Okay.
Oh, God.
Anyways,
Jamal,
look.
the pitchfork, please.
Look, Yayaka is really interesting as a character. Her design is really cool. I love the way her hair...
definitely.
I love the way her hair looks. I love the way her, like, battle uniform works out. And god damn it, I love what I'm gonna call punished Yayaka, which is basically when she is battle damaged, she's wearing the eye patch, and she has, like, the black edgelord cape when she's going to, like, basically get Papika out of her where it's like, god damn it, do you want to save your friend or not? Get up, let's go. And then they go through what is essentially like a speed run of all the bosses of Pure Illusion, and then she gets her own flip-flapping design, and it's so cool, and I love her design. She has the coolest designs, and Patricia's voice blended a lot better for this character than I was expecting. I think she got it all down. She got the sass, she got the snark, she got the jealousy, she got the complicated emotion, she got the anger, she gets the comedy too. She gets it all down, and all I'm going to say is Patricia is definitely a name I'm going to be looking out for in future Sentai dubs. Well done.
Wow, that's 3 for 3 on high praise for Patricia. I feel a little intimidated here. It's like, I should give, like, the harsh criticism here. But I can't do that, because I'm...
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No. There's a level of bitterness to this character that is so much fun to listen to when Patricia is voicing her, because the entire... Okay, like, her speech pattern, let's just focus on that first. She's got, like, a sharp middle voice, with longer syllables. Like, I try to look for speech patterns to distinguish different characters, and I could tell it was Yayaka throughout the whole show, even when not looking directly at the screen, just because of the way that she speaks. Like, she's not angry speaking all the time. She's just got this very commanding, long syllabled voice pattern to her that matches her character design and basically everything she's doing. Like, the first thing we see of her in the opening is not looking at a giant explosion. That's like the epitome of badass character.
Oh, she's doing that and the Gynex pose, so you know she's destined for great things.
You're talking about the intro, right?
The introduction.
Yeah.
The OP. Which is, I mean, I made these guys promise they weren't going to try to sing the opening because it's a really great song and it's hard for us to sing it. But my God, I love that opening. I've lost track of the times I've listened to that song. It's serendipitous.
Boo.
No, damn it, I just got that, you bitch.
I will not be booed by my great puns. Anyways, so yeah, everything these guys said about Patricia, I've got equally high things to say about it. And it's not that she's just an angry character, because she's not just an angry character. She actually has depth to her. I'd argue that she is one of only 3 characters in the show. Mimi's one of them. She's the second one, and we'll get to the third one in a second. So yeah, Patricia's delivery of the whole thing is engaging and matches with the design, which is it's an incredibly Japanese design. Like, basically everything Andrew said about the way that she looks is drawn and everything is like super anime, and it's kind of hard sometimes to find voices that can fit the archetypes of that. Like, I think the only other time I've seen it really pulled off really well was Lauren Landa as Kyoko in Madoka Magica, because that's basically the same kind of character in this one. It's like the sort of yandere sort of character design. Full props on Patricia on this one. She handled the serious moments, the spiteful moments, and the down on her luck moments throughout the whole thing. So, really good job, Patricia. Kind of a good embodiment of people who go through hardships in their childhood and are kind of dealing with becoming a nicer person through their hardships. I don't have quite as much to say about Toto and Yu. Philip and Carly, yes, they too sound a little too old for their characters. Like, I was talking before about Castle in the Sky. This is the same problem that we had in Castle in the Sky, where perfectly fine acting, but voices that just sounded too old for the characters. Don't really know what else they could have done on that one, except maybe actually gotten children, but we're not going to do that. As far as if it was actually detrimental in the acting department, not really. We live in a post-Yuki Nagato world where we're used to, like you said, Shannen, that sort of flat, monotone voice that's supposed to be kind of robotic. Which I don't know what these characters are. Like, I don't know if they're cyborgs. I don't know if they're amalgamations of scientific creation or what exactly, because they can go into pure illusion as well. So I don't know exactly what they're
doing. I think they were born with the amorphous or something like that.
Yeah, it's like they're a scientist meant to be born with it.
If you want a more recent sorry about that. Go.
No, I was going to say that the twins were born with the power to travel. I think Yayaka got hers later on.
Right.
Right. For me, it just felt like the twins were just 2 pieces of a Rei, whatever her last name is, from Ava.
Rei Ayanami.
Yeah. Because, like, the more recent fans, or even, like, mid fans, that if they had to reference any other character that was popular, as a popular archetype, it would be that one. The mysterious one that's used for the plan of the bad guy, we don't know what it truly is for, and so I was
ever since Evangelion, there have been many clones of Rei.
Yeah, so...
Pause for laughter.
Her.
If you haven't seen Evangelion, you won't get that.
I just don't know. I feel like Andrew said it best. Yeah. Andrew. Yes, Andrew said it best.
Yes, hi. My name's Andrew. What's up?
Yes. That, like, the mismatch of the voice to age, or maybe just the way they were speaking, was so out of place, even for, like, this artsy type of anime, that it just kind of, like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's like, why does he sound so deep? Why do they sound so, like, kind of stale and too old? Why does it only take me till like the final episode for me to actually cement their voices in?
I mean, I have no problems with the acting. Like, I don't think it was stale. I think it was... It's hard to pull off monotone without being boring, and I can't say that these two were boring. Not at all.
Oh wait, maybe stale's not the right word, because I did like them. Like when shit hit the fan for them in the climax, like the emotion was there. It's just I never could fully get over the juxtaposition that my brain had to work with just to.
And there are archetypes in the Japanese language that don't always translate into English, and this is kind of one of them. We have the same problem with moe voices too. Sometimes it's hard to pull off, depending on who you get. And given that these two don't have a lot in terms of plot to go with, I didn't mind it so much. But it did. It wasn't as convincing as I would have wanted it to be.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think they're just plot devices that kind of in the background majority of the...
Right, it's like I said, that there are only 3 characters in the whole show, and these 2 are plot devices. But, perfectly fun to watch plot devices. They can kick quite a bit of ass. So, speaking of kicking a lot of ass, are we ready to move on to our final flip-flapping fanaticism?
These are the big ones, people.
The potato and the tomato. The chocolate and the paprika. Not the movie, but you get what I mean. Yes.
You did the coconut and the paprika.
Oh, yeah. You put that lime in that coconut, and then you shake it.
Oh, my God.
Boy, they probably want to do a lot of shaking all about, you know what I'm saying?
No,
That's
Andrew,
what it was all about.
Oh boy, I need to get these all these people talking here, because we are talking about the poster girls themselves. We're talking about blue-haired Coconut and red-haired Paprika, the characters who... Coconut has the ability to enter into pure illusion on her own because she actually has one of those shards inside of her. And Paprika is this weird, spacey, Genki girl that we don't quite know why she's hanging out with Coconut or wants to take her into pure illusion, but we find out later on it's because Paprika used to be Mimi, remember that's Coconut's mom's partner, a long time ago, and through some jiggery-pokery with the pure illusion finagling, now she is a girl again and is going on adventures with Coconut to get the shards. Shenanigans and Sakuga ensue.
Also, maybe a little bit of lesbian undertones / overtones.
Well, yes. We could argue about that as well.
It was kind of like a threesome when you really think about it.
Oh.
And like emotionally.
Yes. But
yes,
the way you worded that.
I think that's called a polyamorous relationship, or I guess in this situation, a polyamorphous relationship.
Oh my God, Andrew.
Get out. Okay.
How many levels of Rubik's Cube are you on tonight?
I'm playing 4-dimensional chess, motherfucker. Let's get going.
Jesus Christ. Oh boy. Voicing these characters, we have gotten to Coconut is voiced by Lucy Christian, and Paprika is voiced by Brittany Karbowski. I don't know if I even have to list credits for these two actresses, because Lucy and Brittany have been around for a long time in many roles that you've heard of before, but I'll go ahead and list some just for the fun of it. You've heard Lucy before in shows like she's Nagisa in Clannad. She is Miyako in EF: A Tale of Memories. She is one of my personal favorites. She's Duck in Princess Tutu. And just for the shonen modern fans out there, she is currently playing Ochako in that one superhero show. I don't know. I think it's like.
I think they call it Boku no Hero Academia.
Yes, that's it. I don't know why I thought it would be named something else.
Is that the one with the ninjas?
God damn it, Shannon! You come to my on this the day of my daughter's wedding to insult my show.
Oh God! Andrew's going full Megan.
Let
me bring it back around to talking about Brittany. Brittany, you've also heard quite a few things. You've heard her as Misako in Food Wars. You've heard her as... Sorry, it's dark right now. You've heard her as the goddamn Maho in Pani Pony Dash. And you've heard her as Karen Tendo in Gamers.
Can I add one more?
Can I?
Since we got
Jamal.
Paprika, they're both Paprika and Peeping Me from Pop Team Epic.
Oh yeah.
Well, yes.
I was also gonna
Also-
say, if you wanted to bring it back to My Hero, she is the voice of Kami from season 3.
I was gonna mention that.
And if you're
later
gonna drop
on,
more, if you want to drop some more, and she is also Wendy from Fairy Tale.
Okay, we need to move on because we could drop her entire resume and spend the rest of the episode doing that.
Yeah, we could. And okay, so to round this all out here, Andrew, I want you to go first on the discussions on this one, and I want you to keep it restrained, if you will, because we've got a lot to talk about with these two characters.
Oh, there's plenty to go about, but first things first, I say Lucy does a very, very good job being this sort of absent-minded, aloof middle schooler who's kind of barely living her life, and it's in the way that Lucy conveys that you can very much tell that this is a character that isn't really looking ahead in the world. They're just kind of looking down and making by. But you see her open up gradually. You see her start having fun. You see her connecting with this character, going on these adventures, having these wacky scenarios. And there's a lot going on with Coconut as a character as she develops throughout the show. And I think Lucy does a stellar job playing both all of that, playing the goofiness, playing the embarrassed, flustered moments, like when she realizes she has a bunny tail and she wants to start chewing things, or when she's crying, realizing she's sharing somebody else's memories about their grandma having dementia, or the moment when she basically realizes her entire life is a fucking lie, which, man, that's never easy to deal with. Realizing, oh, my entire life has been a lie. Cool.
Also, Salt's kind of like your dad, and he never
Also,
told.
this weird glasses guy who's kind of like our boss is also my daddy. Weird. She doesn't take that well. But, no, there's a lot of things going on with her character that Lucy pulls all of the sides and complexities to Coconut very well. And speaking of sides, oh boy, let's talk about Paprika and Brittany Karbowski. Brittany Karbowski has a very natural, raspy whimsy to her voice that she always sounds like she's ready to have a fun time anytime she's doing Paprika's natural... She sounds like a naturally curious child who is effectively also a wild animal on the run and let loose in the world. And I think Brittany Karbowski does a good job portraying that sense of wild, childish free spirit. She also does a good job portraying at least 8 different other emotional sides to the character of Paprika in that one episode where Paprika is just like 8 different other personas. And they are all convincing and distinct sounding. And that's impressive. Like, she sounds like a teenage childhood friend. She sounds like a hot boy. She sounds like a Yankee boy. She sounds like a ghost girl. She sounds like an Ojo-sama. She also sounds like a love hotel succubi seductress?
Oh, hold on. I just want to say, to anyone listening out there, if you understood every word in that last sentence, you are a big honkin' nerd.
You're already in flip-flappers, baby. But yeah, no, Brittany Karbowski is a fantastic voice actress with a lot of diversity who really, really gets to show off all of those sides and then somes when it comes to Paprika. I like both of them. They're great leads, natural fits for both of these characters.
Thank you. Well, that's a high bar to clear in terms of praise. We need someone who's going to really tear this down and give it tough critical analysis. Jamal, what did you think of these two characters?
Remember I said there are so many references in this show?
Mm-hmm.
Even though the show proceeded that Coconut looks like Ichigo from Darling in the Franxx, sounds like her too, you cannot convince me otherwise. That being said, Lucy Christian, like Andrew said, she does have kind of this aloofness to... This is pretty much kind of her bread and butter, but the way she handles Coconut, especially with all the emotionality she has to go through, it's very intense and very engaging to the point that like almost every word Lucy speaks had me hooked on her from the first minute of the first episode. And Brittany Karbowski is Paprika. Like I said in the Review Starlight episode, she has one tone of voice, but manages to spin that into every different performance. Like, I thought it was just standard Brittany Karbowski fare until you get to that one episode. And then she has like she uses like every range possible. She has to like be a little boy to play the play the little sister, to being a nerd, which that kind of took some time for me to get to playing what I like to call her Kami voice, which was the Tanuki succubus thing Andrew was describing. And the fact that, I don't know how many takes it took for her to do that, but it was kind of very impressive, and like, I want to say why I hear more, but I think pretty much Lucy and Brittany shine brightly in this show as the main characters, and it really kind of comes into their own. And I feel like my words are getting jumbled all of a sudden, so before I make an ass of myself, I'm gonna pass it off.
Fair enough. So, as far as high praising goes, Shannon, I know you've got some harsh, critical analysis for both Lucy and Brittany, so I want to hear you really tear into them.
I'll try. Because what I wrote here was a little harsher than I thought it was gonna go. Because at the time I wrote this when I was, like, really getting into it. And, like, I think what I said about Paprika here is kind of dumb. But I'll get to that in a minute. For Coconut, I'm gonna say this, just as anime in general, Coconut's character is not the type of character I tend to gravitate towards in anime. Because I think it's overplayed and overused. The high school kid that something extraordinary happens to them, but they all immediately just want to go home and not experience it anymore. And they're like, oh, I want to live a normal life. I don't like that character. However, Coconut and Lucy Christian's performance, I felt was a really great fit, because it showed that she could be standoffish and kind of hesitant to, like, the dangers and everything and not wanting to move forward, she was still, hopefully curious, like any teenager would. It never was a hard line, no, I despite all this cool stuff happening to me, I want, like, it's like, you know that type of character, they're like, they go back and forth of, I want something extraordinary to happen to help me think about my choice. But then something extraordinary happens. No, I just want to live a normal life. I never felt that type of worry with Lucy, with Lucy Christian's performance. Mm-hmm. It never felt stuck in it. It felt really intense when it needed to. And it surprisingly felt very, what's the word? It's like, how come the only thing I can think about is like when you put something really light on a salad to
vinaigrette?
Yeah, it's
garnish.
Yeah, she's like the vinaigrette.
Okay.
Her performance is like the vinaigrette of this voice salad. It's very distinct.
Wow.
But it lightens the room for me. It feels Coconut never feels like she wants to be stuck where she is, like her character wants. Her character wants to have the courage to think on these decisions and not feel like she's being dragged and everything. So for Coconut, yeah, Paprika is gonna be another one because I do have some criticisms.
Fair enough.
I feel like episode 7 is gonna be the make or break it for some people, because that is the episode with the many Paprikas. While I will argue that the boy voices can be kind of hard to distinguish, especially between the hot guy and the also kind of hot guy, but not really, because I was like...
Basically, it's the one that was kind of tsundere and the other one that was wet.
Yes!
The one had a pompadour on his head.
No, the pompadour guy, he like, that voice was distinct. That one was distinct. But like,
she's talking about like the guy in the classroom and the guy at the shrine who was getting himself wet.
Yes.
Oh, the one that she has an indirect kiss with.
Yes.
Also, there's no way to get around it. In that episode, she more or less reveals, yeah, I may or may not be attracted to Paprika in some form. Yeah,
like, I do like that raspiness. in this particular case. Normally in like other roles, like in Magi, certain some dub performance I know, raspiness can at worst times be your own weapon against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the fact that, yeah, I agree with what you guys said. I like the charm of youthful curiosity that was breathed from it. Like, and especially with all everything in the scripts, like dude and everything, it sounds natural. I think that's the word I've been using all night, but I can't think of anything else that my vocabulary is not that big today. But
that pretty much sums it up.
But yeah, it's just my only thing is that I wish that maybe it's because I want the length of the script to be this. I wish there was more to say. I wish that, like, in episode 7, there were some times where I felt like it did kind of muddle between performances. I'ma just say it as a criticism, as it wasn't, like, the distinct voices were distinct, like the Love Hotel one. That one was the best one. No one can tell me that wasn't the best one of the 8.
She was the hottest one, objectively.
Yes,
well,
the glasses girl was also one that I also felt was an issue, because I was like, is she trying to be an Ojo-sama? But that wasn't Ojo-sama. It just felt like Paprika with curly hair.
Yeah, I'm with you there, but that was like one of those, you're here for 5 seconds, and that's not a deal breaker, considering everything else she's working with.
But yeah, I'm like, it's the whimsy. Her best aspect of it was whimsy, and I'm good.
Very true. I was kind of surprised that you guys focus so much on episode 7, where we see the multiple Paprikas, because when I said that there were only 3 real characters in the show, Paprika wasn't one of them. Coconut is the only one of the only characters that are actual characters in the show, because Paprika always struck me as the sense of adventure, or the sense of growing up that everyone goes through, and it seems strange and it's strange and off-putting at first because you're confronting the sense of growing up. So some people gravitate towards it though, and others shy away from it. Like,
question.
Yeah.
Would you describe Paprika as like Peter Pan to Coconut's Wendy?
Only if you take Peter Pan as a analogy for growing up, which I never quite did. It's actually a really dark story if you think about it, and that's why I didn't really want to draw a parallel there, because it's not really that kind of story. But only in the sense that if Peter Pan were to represent the inevitability of growing up to Wendy, who has to grow up, is that what you're trying to say?
Kinda, sure. Right, I'm arguing the guy who doesn't care for Disney adaptations. I just realized.
No, it's not that. It's that I'm an English major, so I have.
Okay, fair.
I mean, Peter Pan is, he does not grow up. Paprika is the opposite of that. She is bold and confronts the world. She doesn't escape into a world that is safe entirely, because pure illusion is not safe. There's blood, there's death, there's helmets, there's mind control, there's
that frickin' fountain in episode 3 where there's just everybody in bondage gimp gear, and I'm like, oh right, this is happening, isn't it?
But then you gotta argue that she's technically already a grown-up, but then became a kid again.
Yes. And
yeah, that one wasn't really ever explained.
That added some complications to that relationship in hindsight.
Now you think about it, like when you see Paprika less as a character and more as a concept.
That's fair.
Which I do. I see Paprika as a concept and less a character.
It makes more sense that way. Yeah, that feels a lot more sense.
In fact, just to go off on a small tangent, there was theories while the show was airing that Paprika was supposed to be like the reincarnation of an animal of some sort, which is why she's so she's always walking on 4s and she's sniffing the air all the time. And there was even theories that last shot of the ending where we see their 2 feet in the snow, that the last episode it was going to change to like paw prints or something like that. But
I'm sorry to say this was not a Mamoru Hoshida anime.
No, it wasn't. So she did not turn into a wolf child, unfortunately. But, okay, so I need to focus on the voice acting here, because I could go on a long time about the symbolism of the whole show.
Oh, there's so much to talk about, but
There is so much. I'll dip into it a little bit here, but to really give praise here, Brittany Karbowski's was the perfect voice for this role, because she's got, like you were saying, Shannon, she's got that natural zest and pep that can only come from having that raspy voice, which I mean, I've heard her in interviews where, you know, she's not voice acting, and it's just a more exaggerated version of her natural speaking voice brought into, you know, acting for acting anime purposes. And that's honestly, that's what makes her such a compelling actress, is that she's got a standout voice that's a really good actress. And Papika's warbling in between a sense of loneliness, but also adventure throughout the whole show. Like, she's worried about losing Kokona while also being excited to go off on adventures, like, very blindly. And Brittany's just natural sense of, gee willikers mentality just fits with that really well. And I can't really think of another way to translate the archetype of the original Japanese, because the Japanese actress, M.A.O., is one of those actresses that's been in a lot of things and kind of made a name for having that Genki girl over-the-top voice that's really hard to do convincingly in English. But hey, Brittany's one of the best in that regards. I am really surprised, though, by Lucy Christian, because, and I wrote this after watching the first episode, this is probably the least recognizable that Lucy has been, at least to my ears, because when I hear Lucy's most recognizable voice, it's the Ochaka voice, it's the Tenma in School Rumble voice, or it's the Ron in Supergal's voice, that, like, you hear it and you recognize that timbre as being Lucy's. But I don't hear a trace of that in her Kokona voice. It's a very serious voice. It's like she has more full syllables that sounds less like a small girl and more like an adult, which I guess she is. But in this sense, it really stands in contrast to what I'm used to hearing her as. And honestly, it fits really well with Kokona, too, because Kokona's not a silly girl. She's not even acting like a girl. She's a young woman who's, like, growing into adulthood, unclear of what exactly that is going to mean for her, so the voice that Lucy chose to give her fits very well with her arc throughout the whole thing. On the topic, though, really quickly, of, like, her name, you guys have been probably thinking that it's supposed to be, like, the word coconuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was thinking about, like cocoa and chocolate.
Okay, well, that's another one that people have had as well. My theory on this, and I haven't really read any, like, confirmation from the director or not, but there's a whole lot of butterfly imagery in this whole show. Like, she has a butterfly clip in her hair.
Oh!
There are butterflies in the last episode. Their costumes have wings. I'm pretty sure that her name is supposed to be a reference to cocoon, like a butterfly cocoon.
And
Because-
Paprika's supposed to be like
That
a
would
pupa.
make much more sense.
That
Wouldn't
makes-
it? Yeah.
But wouldn't, like, Paprika's be like a pupa, because, like, it's the pupa state, because she was a
Yeah.
she was a
Would.
butterfly, and then she got shrunk back to a kid form because
You're catching on, Shannon. You're
Oh,
catching on.
fuck. And then
It'll-
their final form, which is like the wedding gown with the wings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. We
Yeah.
symbolismed. Fuck.
I told you, Andrew, I am an English person who looks for patterns and symbols in everything.
I just got Doctor Who'd. Yes.
So, that is the deep symbolism of the whole thing. So, before we start recording, I asked Andrew when he figured out what the meaning of this show is. And I to spoil it for everyone else, the real point of the show is it's an analog about the difficulties of growing up. And you can't really get more on the nose than a butterfly, which, you know, metamorphosizes into something else, just like how kids metamorphosize into an adult. And that is where we get this really crazy show. Now you understand it better, and now you can tell everyone else how smart you are.
I kind of feel sad though that now that we know, because
Let's be real here. There's plenty of stuff to dissect when you look closer into the other individual episodes.
Yeah, that was just one aspect of it. You can find a ton more in there. Like, I'm still not entirely sure what they were referencing in episode 5 with the creepy I'm stuck in a school episode. Like, what?
maybe it's
Like-
like stuck in a rut and like
Well, no,
someday can move on.
Well,
No, I get that.
when you describe the aspect about it's tough growing up, so maybe that's why there was a time loop episode, because maybe they didn't want to grow up.
Well, no, it was, but I mean, I don't know what the actual setting, like the sip tea in a boarding school setting was. Like, I don't know what that was referencing.
Like I said, there's symbolism in the central show, but individual episodes, there's a lot of, okay, we're now Mad Max, we're now Super Sentai Robot, and we're now, like, in somebody's grandma's tragic past, basically. It does a lot, it does a lot of stuff.
So, yeah, let's let everyone have their final words on that, because now we've gone through the full cast list, and we are at, as of recording, we're about 2 hours into our recording, so I think we need to let everyone have their final words. And by the way, for all of you who have gotten this far, the code word to get the grand prize in the comment section, you gotta say the word is...
amorphous.
Yes. I didn't actually have a word thought up, so yes, the word is amorphous. If you can spell it correctly, you get the ultra grand prize. So, Andrew.
The prize of being recognized for actually listening.
Yes.
As for my thoughts, Flip Flappers is a visually distinct kind of show. Like, watching it from early fall 2016, I knew this was something I kind of wasn't going to see anywhere else. It was, every episode felt like I was going to get something different, and then the main narrative kicks in, and it gets crazy and engaging. It is a visual splendor that is just ripe with character, symbolism, imagery, and things to dissect. It is animation porn to its utmost pure potential, and it is something I was very much hoping was going to get a dub down the road. I'm very glad to say that the dub is good. I think there's a couple of things that are, like, a little rough around the edges, and there's a couple of performances I thought weren't as consistent, or maybe even a little miscast, but I feel overall what this dub does with its central cast and its leading ladies, as well as just the general sound and atmosphere, plus just, this is a show that needs to be seen, consumed with your eyeballs, and I think the dub is definitely a strong alternative to really digest everything that's going on visually. This is a show that is very unique, very fun, very crazy, and a good time all around. I think John, Swayze, Marta, and the rest of the cast and crew did a solid, commendable job with Flip Flappers, and I would flip flap all over again.
Shannen, your final thoughts on the show and the dub itself.
Flip-floppers to me is what would happen when you drop a pile of Skittles onto your kitchen floor, and it spells out some kind of alien cryptum inside some kind of weird Twilight Zone. It has it's that type of weird what the fuckery show that I personally like, but it's pretty much not everyone's cup of tea, since the visuals may be on an artsy level of, oh, but it just punches you in the face with so much sensory overload that you kind of forget to appreciate what this dub does well. While I argue that a lot of the smaller roles could have been better, as my previous cohort has stated, that it's a little rough. That is a little rough around the edges. And there are some things that could turn a little people off. Oh, the main, again, I agree. The core devices between Coconut, Papika, and Yayaka are pretty much what you come to this dub for. Come to this dub if you want to find some kind of, find a sensual roadmap into this visual Fruity Loops pile. Because while I do say the sub itself is still pretty good and okay, you kind of get lost in translation when you can't understand the words, especially for an anime about so much what the fuckery. So I give the dub a good. Yeah.
I give it a good.
I give it a good.
Well, alright then. Jamal, do you give the dub a good?
Yeah, pretty much. The show itself, honestly, as good as it looked, For me, it could have easily been a pass had somebody not convinced me to give it a chance. Yeah, it's definitely an acid trip when you first start out, but when you get about halfway through the show, it kind of takes you back down to earth to really understand like what the meat of the show is about, what the crux of the show is about. And I think that is where you really start to understand these characters more and more. Like, I will agree, some characters you can take or leave it, but don't count them entirely out just yet. Give them a chance first, because you never know. As for the dub itself, the dub is pretty much, to me, one of Sentai's strongest efforts, because from John's direction to Marta's script writing to the mixing, it didn't feel like a usual Sentai dub. It's not like something that I've usually listened to, like Food Wars or... Actually, no, if I had to equate this, its equivalent would be probably Love, Chinibi, or the other Delusions, and that dub was just as strong too. So, yeah, so how you look at it, I pretty much am impressed with this dub overall. And hopefully, I don't know, I guess maybe it goes somewhere on my list of dubbies. It's just that good.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Did this show scratch your magical girl itch for you?
In a way, yes, because I thought when I saw the characters, I thought it was just going to be another magical girl show. Turns out it was something just more than that, actually. So, to that one guy on Twitter, thank you for posting that clip, man. Like, you really had me sold.
Now, did you see that clip before or after I made you guys watch the first episode at Anime Fest?
Way before, because I remember retweeting it, and I think Andrew commented on it or something like that.
Okay.
Actually, that is a good question to think about. Did this show add to another notch in the magical girl realm? Surprisingly, I'm going to say no. Because
I don't... Yeah, go ahead.
I saw this more as like a cool sci-fi-ish type of thing, because all the magical girl stuff was obviously there. And the fantasy world, it felt like, it felt like it was a bunch of things.
I can see how you came to that conclusion. What I think this is, on the one hand, it's magical girls for the main characters, but on the other hand, the antagonist is more like Kamen Rider in a sense.
I mean, this is it's a very, not subversive, surreal show, and surrealism is supposed to be the accumulation of your subconscious, and this really is a show that feels like it's some otaku's dreams of all the shows he's seen kind of melded together, which includes magical girls, Super Sentai, giant robots, Kamen Rider, high school girls.
Long story short, it takes all the tropes, all the genres of shows, turns it upside on its head, while giving you a good story at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the glue that I think holds this whole thing together. If this was just a Sakuga display that had no core story, it was just, we want pretty things to look at, you'd have another, what's that one KyoAni show? Myriad Colors?
Phantom World?
Yeah,
I was going to say you'd have another 18F.
Well, I haven't seen that yet, so I can't comment.
Don't get me started on 18F.
Let's not. We should probably wrap up.
No, let's focus on this good show here, because, yeah, I love a show that looks good and feels like classical literature, because the details of the themes it's trying to get across are admittedly really simple. It's a really simple thought that growing up is hard, and some people just have a hard time dealing with it. That's a simple thing that a lot of people can relate to. So it tells it with crazy visuals and a lot of heart to it. Like, there's a really strong heart in this whole thing that gets lost in all of the explosions and Skittle, Fruity Loop, Pebbles if you're not paying attention.
It also deals with the saying, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all.
Yeah, so, yeah, like you guys were saying, there's a whole lot of smaller themes in the individual episodes that are easy to overlook if you're just focusing on one theme. So I'm glad that you guys picked up on a lot of those themes throughout. In fact, it'd probably take a couple more viewings for anyone to get all of them. So I have nothing but high praise to say about this. I'm so glad we finally got to do this episode. I'm really also glad that Sentai put out like a super fancy DVD, Blu-ray, limited edition release that y'all should go pick up when you get
I
a
may
chance.
or may not get it with the next holiday sale because
Oh my
it is
god,
tempting.
Yeah.
what this would look like in Blu-ray.
Yeah. I mean, you thought it looked good on your computer or on your phone. Oh, you ain't seen nothing till you've seen 4K visuals.
You know what I'm also glad about?
What?
I'm glad we finally gave Shannen her IOU episode. I'm glad you were here for us.
Yes.
It's been
I'm
a
glad
yes.
you were finally here for that, Shannen.
Yay.
I had really high standards going into this, so I'm not as blown away by it as I would be for something that the same team would put together, but that's just because this is such an unconventional show that a conventional dub like it got just isn't the standard that I would have expected. But honestly, I think it's better to have played it conventional and competent instead of trying to be more bizarre and potentially failing in just adapting the script. That's a compromise I'm willing to make on this one. It is still good enough that I can say that if you're more of a dub person, then by all means take a listen to this in the dub. Also, like Shannen said, it's a little easier to follow along if you're not paying attention to the subtitles all the time. Some people retain information better if they read it than hear it, though, so I'd say they're about equal to each other. But it's still a really good show and a really great experience, regardless of which audio track you listen to. And that is pure audio, which means we are finished with our episode.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. It's because that's the last episode of the show.
No shit.
Oh.
That's for the people. That's for the people in the back of the audience. Because we finish off all of our episodes by plugging. Yes, just like Plug Suits, we plug ourselves hardcore. Because if you want to watch Flip Flappers, and after this whole spiel, how could you not? It is available for streaming. Yes, High Dive, the premier streaming service for Sentai Filmworks, has this show available up in its entirety in both sub and dub. So go check that out. And while you're there, if you do not already have a High Dive account, we actually have a special offer here. Because if you use the code DubTalk2018, then you get a discount on your subscription to High Dive. Yeah, so plug in that code because it's really awesome that High Dive gave us the opportunity. Thank you very much. Tell High Dive that we sent you your way. And as we also saying before, if you want to own this series because you are a collector of exquisite animation, it is also available in both standard Blu-ray release and in a fancy holographic limited edition release from Sentai Filmworks. So if there's a sale...
Get it while it's still available.
It is currently, as of recording right now, this is November 9th, it is currently listed as low inventory on their website. So
that second that gets on a sale, I gotta start looking at that, huh?
Absolutely. No guarantee that, it will be around after the next sale. So if you see it, as we say on Twitter, buy it or you're dumb. Or you're broke. That works too.
That too.
So, as for ourselves, if you've enjoyed this little audio experiment that is the Dub Talk podcast, feel free to click subscribe if you're not already subscribed to us, and also follow us. We have a Twitter account, which is Dub Talk Podcast. We also have an Instagram at Dub Talk Podcast, a Tumblr account at Dub Talk Podcast, and a Twitch account at, you'll never guess, Dub Talk Podcast. So follow us there for all of our developments as we have new episodes every week to cover the latest, greatest, and sometimes the oldest dubs that the English-speaking world has ever created. And to wrap it up, I'd like to give each of my cohorts a chance to tell us what they are doing in the World Wide Web. Andrew.
Hi, my name is Andrew. You'll also find me on Twitter at MangaMan9000 or know me as Classy Spartan. As for my other things, I am a moderator for the Funimation Forum/Discord, as well as a other co-host on another anime-based podcast with fellow Dub Talk host Jet, the podcast O&A for Surreal Resolution.
Very cool. Jamal, would you like to tell us what you're up to these days?
Usually I'm on Twitter, Jamstar1, I mean at Jabstar529. I'm on YouTube at Jabstar1. I do have something in the works right now. I also have a blog that I keep talking about for some reason. And if you excuse me, I'm gonna go take a flap nap. And if you get what that's a reference to, I'll give you $5.
Well, I'm holding you to that.
Not really. Not really.
And now to finish it off, our special guest host for the night, Shannen. Tell us more about yourself.
Oh yeah, it's my time to shine. Well, viewer, you have made it to the end of this podcast, and I would like to tell you, where if you want to see me somewhere else on this big wide world web, then how about you consider coming over to the Anime Misfit side on YouTube, where I do everything and anything that's anime misfically. What does misfically sound? It's the place where you can be free to talk whatever you want. If you want to say that person sounds like a tomato, then you go right ahead. If you want to say that surrealist anime is just as fun as anime that does not make sense at all, then you go right ahead. If you think your waifu is trash and so is I, then it shall be. You can find my content at AM Shannen on Twitter, the Anime Misfit on YouTube, Discord, Reddit, sites, Facebook, and BitChute, which is that place where a lot of YouTube's no videos go when they want to take them down for the umpteenth time from copyright strike. So throw a girl a bone and consider subscribing to the Anime Misfit today, where Taco Day is always free.
She does good work. It's worth your time. Give her a subscriber. Check her stuff out. She's worth your time. I tell you that much.
Amen. Thank you, Shannen. It was really great to have you here for this episode. It's always a pleasure. Actually, it's we need to talk more often.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
I don't know which chat. Wait, are we talkie or are we still?
No, we just talk via carrier pigeons. We'll work our way up to talkie.
Look, I have you on Discord now, so I can PM you every now and then or something like that.
Yeah, because I always try to talk to you guys, but I don't know what the official place is to talk to you guys. But there's so many chat rooms to take care of.
No, I get you, but we'll keep in touch for sure, and we'll make sure to go on another Pure Illusion adventure, maybe someday.
Ba-dumps.
And to round it out, I just, I think I have a Twitter account. Yeah, I got a Twitter account. It's at NoahClue. I really like to talk about animation of all kinds, both east, west, north, south, and interdimensional as well. Or if you just want pictures of children as they're growing up, I also use my Twitter for that, because when you have cute, adorable kids, you get to share them with the world. And I also have a YouTube channel, which is Journey Traveler, in progress for productions on stuff starting in 2019 for making the animation community a better place, and not just umpteen million videos about how Teen Titan Go needs to go away, or why SpongeBob SquarePants will never ever die. We attempt to be a bit deeper than that. Coming soon. And with that, my fine experiments, it's time to head back into Pure Illusion and to never return.
Flip, flop, flip, flap. Flip, flap, flip, flap. Oh god, we're so off tune, it's terrible. But Flip Flap is such a good ED, and I've got almost 2.5 hours without bringing it up until now.
Way to go, people. That's it. That's our cue to stop. Thank you all for coming. Have a great day. Flip flap away.
Otaku on, my friends. And flip flap.
Keep it flapping.
Keep it flapping.
Keep it flapping.
Tip your waitresses.